Good morning, everyone.
Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning, ma'am.
Should we start the class?
Yes.
What's the total strength of the class, Rishikesh?
75, 73, 73.
Okay, we'll begin. We'll not wait anymore. From next class onwards, make it a point to, join the class as soon as possible. I mean, on time. Don't be late to join the class. Then we will have to simply wait for others. Okay. And don't attend for the sake of attendance. That I will give you anyway, and you know it. So if you want to learn, then you attend. If you want to give attendance and join at the last 5 minutes, then stay away. Don't bother about attendance. I will give attendance to everyone. Okay. If you wish to learn this subject, then only join. All right. So as we had discussed in the last class, this particular subject is cloud computing. And the book that is given to you as a reference book or a textbook is particularly looking at cloud computing from a practical approach. That is, from the way it is implemented, from the services that are provided, from the companies that provide services, and what kind of services they provide. But one thing that I would like to tell you all is that the book that is prescribed for your syllabus is a very old book. Maybe 2010, this book was released. And this particular book has no, 2010 was the last edition. There's no new edition to it. And there's no new addition to it. So whatever are the contents of the book, sometimes you might find it little outdated, but basic concepts we will definitely be able to learn, and we will also be able to learn about cloud computing as a market approach, or how cloud-based services have become popular, and which are the companies which provide those services. That we will be able to understand well. Okay, so we are going to start with cloud computing. Okay. All right. I want you all to have a look at this diagram first. First of all, tell me, have you heard the word cloud computing or cloud-based services, or at least the word cloud?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, very good. Where have you heard it? Especially if I'm not wrong, if you have lot of pics on your mobile phone, then most of your mobile apps that are there, they might ask you whether you want to save these pictures or these images on the cloud. Have you come across this kind of a situation?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So particularly nowadays, the way you people know cloud, or the way you have been handling, you are getting cloud-based services, is particularly to store data. On a maybe a huge storage space is given to you. You as a very simple user, or you as a very naive user, maybe you don't have a big company, maybe you don't have gigabytes of data to store, but still lot of cloud providers are there who provide you the service. They give you free space where you can store your data. So that is how most of you know cloud, and I'm sure most of you have heard about this particular concept called as cloud computing. Okay, now before I go to the exact definition of cloud computing, uh, according to the book also which we are referring to, the word cloud is very symbolic, and it comes from the way internet is generally shown in diagrams, or internet is generally depicted and demonstrated in figures. Okay, generally, if since we have learned lot of computer networking in third semester and also in fourth semester, data communication we learned and advanced computer networks we learned. Everywhere we have come across this word internet, and it is shown in the form of a cloud. Can you see this diagram? All of you can observe in this diagram. Can you observe in the middle? There's the internet that is shown. Hmm? And how is it shown? Can you see that it is shown in the form of a cloud? Now, why this
Yes.
particular symbolic representation? It basically means that all your cloud computing or cloud-based services are basically going to be internet-based services. So in 2000, maybe 4, 5, and up to 2010, when cloud services were not very popular, they were just beginning to get into the market. The developers or the researchers wanted to give this particular picture to the general public, that these are the services which are based on the internet, where you are able to save huge amount of data. So you may not have to spend on infrastructure, you may not have to spend on hardware, you may not require very specialized software, but via internet you can very well save your data and access it whenever required. That's why generally, the word the cloud services or the cloud based applications are generally shown in the form of a small cloud, where internet itself is shown in the form of a cloud. In the sense, you are retrieving those services through internet. Now this is a very vague explanation of cloud computing, only to make you all understand that all the cloud based services and cloud computing are internet based services. That means you are going to require the internet work, or you are going to have a network based service via which you can store and access your data. That is the only symbolic way of understanding cloud computing, but then technically it could be defined differently. Okay, generally a cloud computing refers to a construct which allows you to store data on a remote machine, where huge amount of data could be stored and accessed as and when required. So in order to store it on a remote machine, I am sure all of you know what is meant by the word remote. Remote means which is situated very far away from your own local machine. So maybe your local machine has got very little infrastructure, very little resources, maybe hard disk space is less, maybe RAM is less, or maybe other restrictions you have on storage of data on your computer. Nevertheless, this kind of a mechanism or this kind of a computing service allows you to store data on a remote machine, where huge amount of data could be stored and accessed as and when required. So all your cloud computing based services are basically internet based services. That's why we will define cloud computing as a construct. How are we going to define cloud computing? As a construct which allows the end user to store the data on, to store huge amount of data on the remote machine and access it via internet as and when it is required. Now, this definition gives you an idea that all your cloud computing or all your cloud applications are basically network based applications. Only they have been specialized to cater to the needs of the organizations or the users who make use of these services. So general purpose users could be there. There could be specific purpose users. There could be applications which are customized for organizations or users of an organization. So depending on the needs of an organization, different types of cloud-based services can be there. But all in all, whichever type of service you talk about, whichever type of application you talk about, most important thing is that you are able to store your data on a remote machine, on a remote computer, where huge amount of data you could store, and then you can access it as and when required. Okay, now we are going to understand the components of the cloud, but before that I want you all to have a look at this diagram. Since I don't have it in my PPT, I will show it in the PDF. Yeah, I'm sure all of you are able to see the new screen now. Everybody is able to see the new screen, a PDF I have
Yes,
shared.
ma'am.
Yes. Yes,
Yeah,
ma'am.
good. So all of you can have a look at a cloud-based application which is accessed or which could be used with the help of a network. So you all can see what all is there, what all are the essential things that make up a cloud-based service. You definitely are going to require internet over which you are going to access those services. A router could be there, a switch could be there, via which the different clients in the sense PCs, which are used by the user at the user's end, they are able to access the data. So you all can have a look at this diagram and observe. We are going to have our own devices, which could be computers, which could be mobile phones, which could be PDAs, personal digital assistants, or they could be laptops, they could be, palm top computers, could be anything. So you are going to have your own computers over which you will access the data, and you are going to have a remote machine which we will call as a server, over which the data, I mean, in which the data is going to be stored, and via this network we are going to access it. So try to have a look at this diagram like this. Maybe you have a picture or maybe you have a image on your computer via a switch, via a router. Now you people know what is a switch, you know what is a router, you have already learned it. Via the internet, it is sent to the remote machine. The remote machine is the server. So maybe huge amount of photos you have, albums you have, which you want to store. If you store it on your computer or on your mobile phone, maybe your mobile phone memory space is less, and then you would be restricted by that resource. So you store it there, and via the server, whenever you want, they could be accessed on your computer, which we call as clients. So basically, cloud-based networks are client-server architecture. Client-server architecture in which a client is a machine which tries to, which requires a service, so it accesses the data. Server is a computer which provides the service. So server will provide the service and client will access the service or request for the service. So most of your cloud services are based on client server architecture. Okay. Also have a look at this. I want you all to have a look at the second diagram. Okay, so there are different advantages and there could be a few drawbacks also of cloud-based services. We are going to discuss them. So we will try to understand the advantages with the help of one example. The first advantage of a cloud computing service or a cloud-based service is that you as an end user do not have to invest in the infrastructure or the hardware required to store huge amount of data. Okay, now let us take one example. All of you have lot of, you may have a good phone with you, you may have a good computer with you. So maybe you spend about say 30-40,000 in a good computer or maybe in a good mobile phone, but then the amount of memory space present on your mobile phone or on your computer is going to be limited. Okay, so let us assume that you have used that space, so you become restricted by the amount of space there. Now suppose you want to go beyond that, that is you have your phone, your maybe the amount of space that you are getting is very less, you have more amount of data that you have generated, you wish to store it on a on some machine. Okay, now you as an end user do not have to invest in the infrastructure required to store the data. There are different cloud service providers who will give you that service. For example, there is Microsoft, or there could be IBM. There are many other, Amazon is there, or there are so many others cloud service providers. They will invest in the computers, in huge servers, in huge storage space. All infrastructure is, kept at their side. What you are going to do? You're only going to store your data there and access it whenever required. So the advantage that you're getting is you as a user or you as a company, as an organization, doesn't have to pay for the hardware and maintenance of different servers, their disk space. You don't have to do anything. You just have to become a cloud user. So can you all have a look at the diagram? Can you all observe there are different computers, maybe clients or PCs. Imagine you are an individual user, or maybe you have a small company with a few computers, okay, maybe a few PCs. So your company doesn't have to pay for the hardware. Only basic computers, whatever is there, that you will require. Okay, what your computers can do, whatever data that gets generated on your phone, on your PCs, on your laptops via the internet, you can store it on the remote servers, or you can store it over the cloud, on the cloud, over the internet, and you tend to get huge amount of storage space. So the service provider is the one who will maintain that equipment. For example, Microsoft is a huge cloud service provider, so they will maintain the servers, they will look after the infrastructure, they will think about how to maintain them, how to keep them, maybe their security, all is their lookout. You don't have to do anything. You only have to subscribe to the service. Just like you all are making use of data, internet on your mobile phone. Are you maintaining the network? Are you looking after the towers? Are you looking after the different infrastructure required for the network? No, you are only a user, so you subscribe for that service. Maybe you pay a small amount, maybe 400 500 rupees for 2 3 months you pay, and you get to access all the internet based applications. Just like that, as an end user, the data that gets generated on your machines via internet, you get to store it on the server. So what's the advantage? The advantage is that you all can have a look at this. The advantage is that you get to use the storage, you get to use the infrastructure, you get to use the servers which are managed by someone else at a very small price. You are able to access all those services at your end. Okay. To make you all understand this particular concept better, let me give you one more example and let us try to compare. I don't know if you people have come across this, but because I'm an old student of computer science, I have come across this. In those days, maybe 10 years, 12 years back, suppose you buy a licensed copy of Microsoft, okay, or Office, or maybe Word, or whatever. Imagine for our lab, we have brought a licensed copy of MS Word, or maybe Microsoft Office. So earlier, how it used to be, we used to get CDs, okay, and we just have to take that CD. I mean, once we become a licensed user, we have to take that CD around the lab, install it on all the machines, and then we start to get to use all those applications like MS Word, MS Excel, and all that. Whatever is the new version, you get to use it. Now imagine Microsoft has come up with a newer version of maybe MS Office. What do we do? Again, you have to do the same process. You get a CD and then you install it separately on all the machines, take that CD around the lab, and once again install it. So it was becoming really cumbersome, because every time there's an update of a particular software, you have to get it in the form of a CD, then put it inside the CD drive, install it on that machine, the next machine, the next machine, and so on. That is if you have a lab, if you have an organization where multiple computers are there. Okay. But now it is different. With cloud-based services, what Microsoft can do, every time they come up with a newer version of, say, MS Office, they simply put up that version. Since I'm a licensed user, I can download it. Okay. So they simply put up that newer version on the cloud. There are millions of users of Microsoft, maybe Word, Excel, PowerPoint. What they have to do, you simply have to log into the cloud, a Microsoft cloud, access that service from the remote server, get the updated version on your client machine, and install it. So lot of effort, lot of tiring work that had to happen, that is every time get the update and then go on installing it everywhere, that has stopped. So the advantage that we get with this kind of a, cloud computing environment is that your effort is saved, your time is saved, and also it is very, very convenient, especially if you are a telecommuter in the sense you are traveling, okay, and you're working with remote workers. Now your data could be stored in one server and you are going in different places. You're still able to access that data because of cloud-based service. So huge amount of memory space can be allocated to you with the help of a cloud environment. Okay. Now, there could be little or one or two disadvantages, or what you can call as drawbacks for a cloud-based service. One important drawback which has been put up in your textbook, which I don't agree to anymore, is that some there could be internet outages. What are internet outages? Internet outages means internet is down. Now that happens very rarely nowadays. In those days, maybe in 2004, 2005, maybe that was a problem. You all of a sudden there's no blackout. Maybe for some amount of time your service provider is not giving you. There could be a line that is corrupted, which needs to be replaced. For some amount of time, internet could not be accessible. But what the author in the book says is one disadvantage that you can face with cloud computing is cloud services are all internet based services. So if internet is down, you can't access that service. That is common sense. If internet is not there, if internet is not working, then services, I mean your data which is stored on a remote machine cannot be accessed on the client machine. Can you all see this diagram? Can you all observe that internet is shown in the middle, and imagine there is a outage. I hope you understand what is meant by a outage. Just like electricity outage, once in a while we face it nowadays, but in old 10 years back, 12 years back, we used to face it every now and then, 2 hours, 3 hours electricity outage. Outage means what? No power supply. Like that, internet outage means all of a sudden all internet services are closed because maybe internet is not available. But with technology advancing, that is rarely a case nowadays, but it can happen. All your cloud services are internet based services. So if internet is down, your service provider cannot provide you the service. You cannot access those applications on your client PCs or on your machines. Okay. Okay. One more disadvantage that can happen is application integration issues. Means suppose you have cloud-based services that you're going to access. It is important that you are able to integrate your applications with those services. More so if at all your applications are stored in different geographical locations. In that case, migrating to the cloud and from a standalone machine to a network based machine to a cloud based service, that migration could take time, or maybe that is going to complicate the issues if at all you're trying to integrate your older versions of your software, older versions of your data on a cloud based service. So integration means when you're trying to put together, if your applications are dispersed in different geographical locations, integrating them, putting them together, and then uh, 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 migrating to the cloud could be a little difficult. But again, with the advancement in technology, with the advancement in the cloud based services that are provided nowadays, that is not at all a big deal. In fact, you have a lot of companies who provide you complete solutions. Even if your machine, even if your organization is using a standalone machine, you can migrate from standalone machine onto a cloud-based machine very easily. Very easily, you can take your data on from your machine to a remote machine. So that is not a problem. Nevertheless, since it is described in your textbook, we will have a look at them. So two disadvantages we may have with cloud computing. One disadvantage is if at all there is no internet or internet outage is there, then we cannot access cloud-based services. Second is if at all your applications are dispersed in different geographical locations, then integrating them could be a issue. Okay. Now I want you all to have a look at this diagram once again. All of you can observe what are the important components of a cloud computing environment or cloud-based service. All of you can see there are three important components of cloud-based services or cloud components they are called as. One is called as client computers or clients. The second one is called as distributed servers or servers. The third is known as data center. Okay, so there are understand that there are three important components for cloud computing. One is clients, second is distributed servers, and the third one is data center. We are going to learn all of them one by one. But remember what each one means. Okay. Clients are devices over which or through which an end user is going to access the data. So clients could be mobile devices, they could be thin clients, or they can be thick clients. Okay. Data centers are nothing but collection of servers, a group of servers which provide you huge storage space to store your data. That is called as a data center. And the third is distributed servers, wherein you are not going to the cloud service provider will have the servers stored or placed in geographically dispersed location, so that by chance any one of the server is down, you still are able to access your data, because there are other servers which will take over in case of a failure. So distributed computing is also incorporated. Distributed servers are stored in geographically dispersed location, and they provide reliability in case of failures. Now we are going to have a look at all of them one by one. But first of all, we'll try to understand what are clients and which are their three types. Like I said, all cloud-based services are based on client-server architecture. So clients are machines at the end user side over which they will access the data. So suppose you have made use of a cloud to store your pictures, then your mobile phone becomes a client. Or suppose you have a small organization wherein you have some computers, those will become clients. So clients can be mobile devices, they can be thin clients, or they can be thick clients. Now let us try to differentiate between what are thin clients and what are thick clients. Thin clients are computers which do not possess any hard disk or any processing mechanism. They are just like dumb computers or dumb terminals. D-U-M-B, dumb terminals. Now, what is the meaning of the word dumb? They are not able to do anything. That's why they are dumb. And I'm sure you people are not. You have a processor, that is your brain. But there could be computers which do not compute anything, which do not process anything. So they are called as thin clients. Now, what is the use of a thin client? They act more like a terminal through which you can give a command and through which you can access the data. But on that client, on that computer, there is no processor, there is no hard disk. It has got nothing except a input and an output device. So maybe you have a certain input device, like maybe a keyboard or a mouse, and output device like a terminal, but you cannot store any data on that machine, you cannot do any processing on that machine. Such computers are used particularly in organizations where data processing, everything is centralized. Only you provide those terminals for input and output at the operator side or at the end user side. So what are thin clients? All of you remember? They are computers which do not possess any hard disk, which do not possess any computing specialty. That is, they don't possess even a processor. They are made up of only input device and the output device. The motherboard or the processor is absent in such machines. Then there are thick clients. Thick clients means also computers, wherein like a general computer, what I and you use generally. Input device is there, output device is there. Also processing is there, and to certain extent, small amount of storage space is also there. But all your important data gets stored on the server, it doesn't get stored on the client. So there could be mobile devices, like maybe laptops or mobile phones or PDAs, which you can go and take around and move around with them. There could be thin clients which are located in a fixed place. They do not contain any hard disk. They do not contain any processor. Thick clients are there, usual computers with a small processing speed and with a small storage space, but they do not contain huge amount of storage space. All these make up the end user side over which accessing of data, that is, you either send the data or you receive the data on your machine. This can happen at the client side. Okay, then there is a data center and a distributed server. We will try to understand about them later, but at least try to know what is meant by a client and how many types of clients are there. Okay, so I'll just quickly revise what we learned today. We learned what is cloud computing, and I have told you its advantages. Then I have also told what are the components of a cloud. Okay, so cloud computing is a construct which allows you to access the data from a remote machine onto your machine. So with the help of internet, it is possible to store your data on remote server and access it whenever required. All right. Now, what are the advantages? You don't have to pay for the infrastructure. You don't have to pay for the servers. You don't have to pay for their maintenance. You can still have lot of storage space for you as an end user. And what could be the disadvantages? If at all internet is not there, then outages are there. Cloud services cannot be accessed, and integrating them on a server or migrating from a standalone to a cloud-based service could be little difficult. And there are three components of a cloud computing service. One is client computers, second is distributed servers, third is data centers. Clients can be of three types: mobile devices, thin clients and thick clients, data center and distributed servers. We will learn again in the next class. Okay, so if you have any doubts in what we learned today, feel free to ask me, and all of you can enter your attendance in the chat box. If you have any doubts, please raise your hands or unmute yourself and ask me.
Ma'am, I had a doubt. What is the difference between mobile devices and thick clients?
And thick clients. Okay, so you
Yes.
could think of them like that. Mobile devices could be personal digital assistants, PDAs. They could be mobile phones or cell phones, or they could be laptops also. But thick clients are generally like a computer which is fixed to a particular place. Okay, now there's a very thin line that distinguishes them. For the sake of clarity, you can think of mobile devices as your cell phones. Of course, they also possess some amount of processing speed and some amount of storage space. Thick clients are computers having the processor and a storage space which are fixed to a particular place. Mobile devices, you can carry them around anywhere that you go, and through them you access the data. Okay.
Yes, ma'am. Got it.
Any more? Yes, Rohan.
Ma'am, what is the difference between a storage device and a server?
Storage device and a server.
Yeah, ma'am. Like in cloud computing, we are using servers to access the data.
Huh?
But in regular computer, we will use storage devices
Huh.
to store the data.
Yes,
So, like,
yes.
what is the difference?
Difference is a storage device will allow you to store the data. It could be on your computer. When you talk about a server, it is in terms of the amount of storage. Generally, on your computer or on a general computer, the amount of space could be less. But when we talk about a server or a data center, the word that we use is a data center. It's a server only. Okay. Their amount of data that you're going to store is tremendous, huge, very, very huge amount of data will be there. So on your computer also you can store it, but when you store it on a server, the space that you get, you are not restricted by that resource. You get lots of space on the server. Moreover, on the server, the kind of mechanisms that are provided to provide security to your data, to encrypt your data, or make it available whenever necessary could not be there. It doesn't mean it is not there. You can implement it on your local computer also. But if you wish to distinguish, then a server will allow you to store huge amount of data plus provide you all the mechanisms to secure your data. Okay, so very what you can say, I can't distinguish as such. A storage device will be on your computer also, it will be on the server also. But the advantage that we get with the server is the amount of space, the huge amount of space that will be available. Moreover, servers can be specialized to provide services also. Different types of services they can provide. They are meant for different purposes. General storage device could be only storing your data. Processing or providing a service, servers are specialized for that. Okay.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay. Any more? Okay. Should we stop our class today? We will continue in the next class.
Yes, yes, ma'am.